Welcome back to my annual Oscar series where I talk about all the Oscar categories except for the short film ones. I rank all the nominees per category according to who I think deserves to win each Oscar, then I make a prediction for who I think will win each Oscar. Now I want to go back to the technical awards, so we're going to be talking about Best Production Design. And the nominees for this are Arrival, Patrice Vermette and Paul Hott, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, Stuart Craig and Anna Pinnock, Hail Caesar, Jess Gonchar and Nancy Hay, La La Land, David Wasco and Sandy Reynolds-Wasco, and Passengers, Guy Hendrix Diaz and Gene Sardena. Now, I do think this is a really solid list. The only thing missing here is The Handmaiden, the South Korean film by Park Chan-wook, but of course this film was completely shut out of the Oscars, like in every category. It should have been nominated for everything, but that just goes to show you that the Academy doesn't really go out of their way to watch a lot of movies. So anyway, in terms of who I think deserves to win this, at 5th place I'm going to give it to Passengers. Now, as much as I dislike Passengers as a film, I dare say that this nomination was actually deserved. The interior of the spaceship in the film, the Avalon, is fully furnished like a hotel. You can tell they really put a lot of thought into its architecture. There's a lot of fascinating equipment in there, like, their own version of the holodeck from Star Trek. And everything has this sort of grandiose vibe because there are only two people awake on the entire ship. Everything looks bigger, more cavernous. And so while I didn't really like Passengers, I feel like the Avalon was promising and it definitely deserved to be in a better film. Now, at 4th place, I'm going to give it to Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Fantastic Beasts captures the look of the 1920s really well, but it has sort of like a darker edge to it. You can tell it still takes place in the Harry Potter universe. You have, people using wands again, which is always nice to see. But like I said, there's this heightened sense of the Gothic because of the presence of the second Salemers, the characters played by Ezra Miller, Samantha Morton. And it's great how they sort of cast a shadow over everything, and the production design really makes the story seem darker, and I love it when production design helps tell a story. The only thing missing for me in Fantastic Beasts was more practical effects that I loved from the Harry Potter films. There's a lot of CGI in the movie. I wish there was less of it, but it's still cool to see like the place where Newt takes care of the beasts themselves. Now, 3rd place, I'm going to give it to Arrival. Now, I have not yet read Story of Your Life, the story that Arrival is based on, so I don't know if they designed the heptapod language just from the short story or if they made these circles for the film, but major kudos to them for how they designed the language, because when they start explaining the language, you kind of find yourself trying to read the circles as well, together with Amy Adams, and it somehow makes sense that, these things do represent language, and it's really cool that they did that. Arrival is definitely short on locations in terms of production design, but I think they use confined spaces really well. The base where they operate, and the room where Amy Adams talks to the heptapods, I think both of these places are instantly memorable, and they highlight the distance of these people from the other nations, from their own countrymen who are criticizing what they're doing. It's great use of limited space. Now, at 2nd place, I'm going to give it to Hail Caesar. Hail Caesar is a love letter to classic cinema, definitely, and they recreate everything perfectly here. There's so many fancy sound stages that you would really see on a 1950s lot. I love that they had this whole set with a lot of water for Scarlett Johansson character, and when I watched Hail Caesar in cinemas, I had just seen snippets of a musical that had this exact same set, so it was so cool to see that. So you have all those things, and then you have a lot of wacky communist stuff. And what's great is that the production design of Hail Caesar in general has this deliberately artificial feel to it that really adds to the comedy, and I think it really pays off. Finally, at 1st place, the film that I think deserves to win Best Production Design is La La Land. It's also a love letter to classic cinema and classic musicals, but it combines these elements with more modern elements. So the effect is La La Land comes across as something that's truly timeless, something that seems like it's taking place both in the past and in the present, which is really reflective of the character's mindset. And of course, the production design really comes to life when it comes to the dance sequences, the musical numbers. If you look at the very first scene, Another Day of Sun, like, you wouldn't really know how they'd pull off a dance scene on a crowded highway, but they really do it. The Start a Fire sequence looks great. and the epilogue especially is just dazzling. Like, there's so many references to classic musicals. Everything just looks so good and so idyllic, and it will definitely sweep you away. It's essential to the storytelling, the production design. And in terms of who I think will win this Oscar, I do think it's going to go to La La Land. For me, it's really only a race between La La Land and Hail Caesar, but the fact that La La Land has like 14 nominations, I think will guarantee its win. Alright, so those are my thoughts on Best Production Design. What do you guys think of the nominees? What do you think should win? What do you think will win? Whatever you guys think, whether you agree with me or not, please leave me a comment. Let's have a conversation.